Well, everybody, welcome to the Star Citizen podcast. It is quite a long time ago now that we started the podcast, and it has been going great. We've been enjoying the conversations, really enjoying your engagement out there. And the one thing I want to say is we are now on all of your major streaming platforms. So if it's a little easier for you to listen to us on Apple, if it's a little easier for you to listen to us on Google, if it's a little easier for you to listen to us on Spotify, you can find us there. And welcome to the evening, Zal. How you doing?
Pretty good. Welcome to everybody out there. That evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you may be listening to us. Glad to see all you guys here.
You know, last week, if you listened to last week, you will know that Zel and I kind of decided to kind of plow through the ships and really kind of give you some of our opinions on them, but mostly, what we kind of were messing around with was the concept of what if CIG had taken kind of the more, as Zel says, the Wal-Mart approach to ship selling, and then we kind of played this game like, would you buy it for $100 or would you buy it for $200? And part of that concept, was kind of born out of the whole, if you ever play World of Tanks, the gold tank kind of way that they handled their business, that type of thing, because that definitely isn't a microtransaction, is it, Zal?
Not micro. Well, yeah, I guess that, to preface it with a lot of this stuff and some of the questions that were asked is how this what this conversation was born out of. And, it was, it's kind of a little thought, it's a little thought exercise for us, but for the most part, it's kind of also born out of which we haven't really got what CIG's end game, what their end goal is going to be. What is, what's the thing that's going to drive business after, the release of the Persistent Universe and at least Chapter 1 of Squadron 42. What is going to be, what's their monetary model going to be? And that's kind of what has driven this little exercise. If they had swapped things around, could they have worked, say, the microtransaction angle where, like V had said, where we had spoken about, we gave the example of World of Tanks, where they sell their premium tanks. That's one of their, that's basically their business model. Then they have, other microtransactions, whether it's, buying gold or boost or, ships or tank skins and things like that. And, CIG, I guess years ago had said that, it's not going to be a pay-to-play model. Although, once we started thinking about it, most, at least for myself, because I would like this game to have some legs. And for me, yes, the microtransaction route most definitely can work. A lot of games have sustained themselves in that way. Stuff like Fortnite, they make truckloads of money, like billion a year in microtransactions or whatever. But what's their end game model? And that's kind of like what all this is kind of born out of is if they would have taken the approach of selling these ships within that 200 to 100 range, and then maybe some of the other ships, I think we even made the example, things like the Vanguard or the Scorpius in that, $70 or $80 range. What it would look like. We're going to tally up what we've had so far Whether we've agreed, say, yes, I would have bought that for this price, and then tally it up, and then see where we're at and how much money we've actually spent, or how much money theoretically we could have spent over the past 7 years. So it's just a fun little exercise. It's I know, for those of you that listened to all of last week, which is was 2.5 hours long. Man, we really appreciate it. You guys are troopers, and make sure that you hit that like and subscribe, and definitely, at the end of the show, or after you listen this week, tell us what you think about the whole idea, and what your guys' idea may be for how CIG should proceed, or if you guys what would be the business model that what you guys would like to see.
Yeah, no, that's a very good. Yeah, if you guys have end game business models, absolutely. I mean, Zel and I never miss an opportunity to talk about ships. I mean, that's one of the fun. And as anybody who plays Star Citizen knows, that ships are, obviously a very central part of the game, central part of the gameplay, and of course it is very much during this development phase how CIG has decided to make a lot of their money, and you can't argue with their success at this point. I mean, they have been very adept at crowdfunding, and very adept at kind of producing really cool ship concept ideas and selling those concepts. But it just like Zel's saying, it does beg the question, right? After Squadron 42, at least the first iteration of it comes out, maybe before the next couple of DLCs or extras come out for it, and once the persistent universe is released, and you have to think there's all these ships then that they've already sold conceptually, that they're going to bring into the game. Is the ship selling model going to, I'm sure they're going to have some concept sales, but is that really going to be enough lifeblood to sustain it? I think is kind of one of the driving factors behind the conversation here, and it's a bit of a head scratcher, really. I'm not sure that we feel like, at least for myself, that maybe like once you get all these ships that we're talking about and they're all in the game, are they going to continue to be able to just kind of do conceptual ships and just kind of bring them into the game, and how would that look versus your more traditional subscription model, which, quite honestly, I don't have a problem paying a subscription. I think a subscription is a very sustainable. I mean, as some of the MMOs and those types of games that have been most successful have had a subscription model. Well,
you and I pay for the subscription right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've been paying for it for quite some time. And it's 20, I guess we play that $20 price point, and it's more than most MMOs right now that are out there. WoW's like $15, and I think Final Fantasy 14 is something like that, $14, and so and we pay 20, and it's not a big I don't think it's a big deal to keep the game progressing,
keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on. We kind of did some bar napkin math, and just from what we saw with with the average dev salary of what they listed not too long ago, and with them having 600 devs, and we know they're not all developers. We kind of use that term a little loosely with people that may be the concept artist, in-game, character artist, ship
customer
artist,
care people, exactly.
Your IT guys, your engineer guys, your marketing people, everything else. So the whole payroll, I guess, is probably about 600 people, and they said, within the next year or so, they want to have at least 1,000. So, but at least with 600 people on the payroll right now, with their average salary, it's like 48 million a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which equates to about 4.5 million a month, just in salary alone. We're not even talking about what they pay for servers and basically pay for the brick and mortar at the offices. They're building the new Manchester office. They just built the new Frankfurt office. They'll be, they're going to be doing new Austin offices and LA as well. And then Montreal, they got some stuff in Montreal. So, what they're paying and, to brick and mortar and keep the lights on as well. So, if we're doing also some quick math and, once everything gets rolling, it's like how many concurrent players are they going to have, every month? And, there's like 4.5 million subscriptions out there, people that signed up for the game. Say we have 2.5 or 3 million concurrent player base, concurrent players. At 3 million at 20 bucks a month, that's 60 million a month. And even down to if they had 1.5 or 2 million people paying a subscription a month, which is very feasible. That's still in that 15-20 million range a month.
Yeah.
And that definitely would keep sustaining them for sure. So and that's kind of like what this little exercise or little game we've been kind of playing is, if they had taken more of the, hey, and selling these ships at $100 a piece instead of, 3, 4, 5, in some cases, a lot more, $890 jump or,
yeah,
so at $900. So, or if you're one of those big wheeler dealers and bought something like the Javelin or
Kraken or something,
Idris or a Kraken or something like that, for 2,000, 1,600, 3,000, God bless you.
Well, and we know these. We know there are people out there that that have done that type of thing for sure. That being said, it is interesting. I mean, it is interesting to kind of think about the ships and and obviously artificial scarcity being what it is, and some of the ways that they've handled the stuff is they've been very wise. You know what I mean? But it does. I always think it's a good exercise to kind of take a look, to talk about the ship's values, and then yes, like I've kept this running list, where as we've talked about ships, Zel and I, it's like, would you buy it for 100? Would you have bought it for 200? Type of thing, and and just kind of maybe thinking about it, coming at it from a little different angle. You know what I mean? And wondering, if how many. I mean, I did hear one comment, which was a really good one. It's like, hey, if you made 890 jumps, $100, it'd be everywhere. Good point. I mean, it's a good point. I definitely understand, what someone's saying there.
I think we also, we also kind of realize that as well. That's why we, said for, things like the 890 or something like that, would be in that most definitely. I mean, it, if you wanted to keep it at that higher end, that, we could see it at $400 or so dollars or something like that. I mean, that's still a lot of money. And you know, the one thing you got to keep in mind, guys, these are digital assets. You know, these aren't tangible. And sure, absolutely. I mean, I brought it up a ton of times, and I still fall into that FOMO, that feeling like I need to buy this ship, because you do get this weird sense of ownership of it.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I agree with that.
I've said that plenty of times, but you know, the other side of me says, yeah, it's fine. You know, we've already spent a little bit of money on this game, and but like then again, you know, the whole point of this was like, you know, if it was at a cheaper price point, you know, would you have bought it? You know, because like I said, like on my World of Tanks account, you know, I got $3 or $4 grand probably in that game, just by buying, you know, like over the past 10 years, you know, just buying those premium tanks for
30, 40, $50 a pop. Yeah. And before long,
exactly.
you know, and it is a very, very interesting point, you know, and you know, I mean, and we marched through, in the last week, we marched through everything that was north of $200. Basically every single ship that was north of $200 for the most part. I mean, I guess not every single ship, but the vast majority of them. And really, I think the takeaway from last week, really the TLDR is, any north of $300, we think your best investment's in Endeavor. You know, north of $200, I should say, your best investment's in Endeavor. It's not to say there aren't some other ships that aren't good, because they certainly are some good ships there. But if you're going to part with your money, I think that's eventually, now it's a long-term investment. You know, that's going to be one of the last ships to get into the game. We absolutely think that ship could be well over $1,000 in the current pricing model. You know, or certainly $600, $700, $800 easily for just the base. It's, you know, or easily double, you know, but there was lots of ships up in that range where, I mean, and I've written them down, and we're going to continue this on tonight. Lots of ships that if it was $100 or $200, we would have bought. You know, and the fact that they're not, it's okay though. It's the one thing, we're not saying that they, you know, see, I just silly for not doing this. This is just kind of a fun exercise. We're having, you know, some fun with it. And tonight it's going to pivot a bit, right? Because we're going to get down to these ships now that are $200 and less. And the question's going to shy away more from like, would you pay $100 or $200 for it? It's going to be more about, do you think that ship's worth the value? Because we're starting to get into the wheelhouse of the 200 and down. You know what I mean? So, and then we'll probably just mention, hey, and I'll just grab one out of the blue, like the Razor EX, you know, $155 ship. If you'd have sold that guy for $35-$40, you know, how many of those would you sell, man? I mean,
yeah, you know, also, guys, you know, our conversations kind of revolve around, yes, we definitely want to, try to bring you Star Citizen news and stuff from our perspective, and
yes,
you know, at least what we feel about it. But you know, I think it's one of these things that we kind of come at it at this approach. Like you guys and we're all sitting together at a table at a bar, having a few beers, and just basically, you know, talking about what ifs. And, you know, and this is one of these little conversations. I'm sure you've had these conversations with your friends in the bar of, hey, man, what if CIG, instead of selling these concept chips for this price, what if they had sold them cheaper? Would they have, you know, is it more of you would have sold more at a lower price point than at a higher price point? So, you know, just think of this conversation as us kind of sitting around and just having a beer together and just chatting it up. So
Absolutely. And I mean, before we get started, I guess, Zal, kind of, because we've talked about World of Tanks, quite a bit. It's kind of like, that model, that gold tank model. How many of those, if they were $300-400, do you think you'd have bought?
Oh, not many.
Yeah, that's kind of that's exactly what it is, right? There is, and I had kind of made this point, and then somebody had made a similar comment, where, it's an easier conversation to have with with your spouse or with your, $600-700 or whatever is a whole, 50, 60, 70. I mean, there is no conversation sometimes for $50 in a relationship or, $100 in a relationship. But even a fairly well off family, $700, $800, $900 is probably something you're I can at least mention. And gamers being what they are, I mean, I think Star Citizen's blessed to have a little bit older gaming community. But I mean, like
especially if you have a family and like like we had spoken about last week. For a lot of people and us too, this is our hobby, and we tend to spend a little bit on our hobbies that we like.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. I'm a gun enthusiast, and I like to buy guns, and I like watches, and I buy a lot of watches, and but I guess it's what you're comfortable, what you're comfortable on spending, and at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, we agree, we agree pretty much with everybody. If that's what, if you like to do that, we're not knocking it.
Oh, hell. If you want to go spend $500 on a C2, please do, for the love of heaven. Help us. Help us get the game going.
We're not advocating against it.
No,
we're just having the conversation as, if they were cheaper, would you have bought more, kind of thing. So, because both of us have a fairly decent disposable income, but it gets to a point where you're only going to want to spend so much. So.
Well, and so much in a single chunk, that's the thing.
Yeah, especially when the game comes out, man. You're going to be making all these ships in game anyways. So, it's just it was just one of those things that at the end of the day, if they were cheaper, probably would have, realistically probably would have bought more. So,
wow, it's so here we are. We're going to be talking to ships now today that are basically the concept sale, standalone price. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about what they were originally, but kind of what their standalone price is today for the most part. We have a couple of different references pulled up. Star Citizen Fandom and Gamers by Night have these real nice lists, and I got both of them up, and one of them allows you to kind of link to the pledge store page, and I think Zel's in the same boat, and we're just gonna start kind of going through these ships, and and it's always an opportunity to talk about kind of the value of the ship, or how you may see the ship in game, and whether or not you would actually buy it for that price, and then and we'll talk about what if we were kind of definitely taking that more Wal-Mart approach, what would have been maybe an aggressive price point where where you could have sold, a lot more of these, ships or whatever. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go. So I guess without further ado,
where do we leave off?
I think the $200 ship's the Vulcan.
Okay.
Now, the Vulcan's an interesting ship to me. I mean, it can repair, refuel, and rearm. Now, I think that I may be wrong about this, and you could correct me. I think it has to specialize. I don't think it can do all three at once. I think you either pick one: refuel, repair, or rearm. I could be wrong about that.
Right. Yeah.
But that is a ship that's going to have a lot of purpose. Being able to do those things. How many ships, kind of have that capability? They can repair or refuel or rearm. That's
yeah. It's got both stations. It's outfitted with 2 support operator stations. It will either take control over the remote turrets or drone operated and control over 4 drones. But each station can only control 1 drone at any given time. Each drone can be modified with a module to perform either repairing, refueling, or rearming. So yeah, you're limited on what you're doing.
But still, the fact that it is a small crew repair, rearm, refuel ship, pretty good, pretty cool concept ship. First of all, I also like the way that it looks. It's not a real big ship, so it'll be interesting to see how it all works. I think, the drones are going to be doing the heavy, you're going to kind of fly up there and just kind of release the hounds, and, and that's going to be it. So, for $200, I don't own this ship. How about you, Zel?
No, I don't own this one.
And I don't, it's cool. And I really enjoy the Starfarer. And certainly not, we've talked about it in the last episode, not necessarily as a buy ship, but I mean, as something you earn in game. And I enjoy the refueling mechanics. I think that they're cool. I don't know. For me, I don't know that, it's not a bad price, $200.
No, I mean, it's like we talked about last week with the Corsair, being at that $215 price point.
Yep.
We don't see that, I guess all things being equal.
It's not egregious.
No, it's not. And the way we're playing right now, I guess its concept price was $195. So, $215 doesn't seem like out of the ballpark. But yeah, I mean, like we said before, we like the Corsair. We're, anticipating that it's going to be a pretty cool ship. But yeah, I mean, I didn't buy it. So, if it was $100 for the Corsair, yeah, I think we said yes to that. But as the Vulcan goes, yeah, I don't know about. I think that would have been I mean, it's going to be cool. It's like you said, it's kind of like the Starfarer, although we do like the Starfarer. And I think I said I would have bought it at $100. I might have bought the Vulcan for $100.
I might have bought, for $100 because it has such versatility. I think I'll go in on it for $100. I think so too. I'm going to mark us down $100. And 200 is pretty steep. $100 though, with it having that level of functionality, I think I'd probably bite on it. If not only just to maybe repair and refuel my Prospector.
Well, if we're taking the precedents that we had set for last week, would you say, like for the Vanguard and the Scorpius, I think we said that, really an awesome price point for those guys would have been in that $70-$80 range.
Yep.
Would you have considered the Vulcan to be in that
because
70, 80?
Because the Vulcan has the 3 things that it does, I would be okay with a 90 to 110 price. Okay. I think the argument could be made because it does repair a fuel rearm. It's got drone capability. It doesn't have a single purpose. It's got multiple purposes. I would be okay if it was in that, 90 to 110 range.
Right.
How about you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For what it does, sure. Like you said, it's a cool looking ship. Yeah, most definitely that 90, 100. I feel like it's probably worth it at that point, at that price point.
Yep. Well, and as we go to move on here, you guys, one of the things we're going to run into is a lot of fighters. And one of the things with fighters is, and a lot of these ships are actually going to be where, you're going to hear it a lot tonight. With the prospector and in good hands, some of these ships you can earn in an evening or, a couple of evenings. And, and I think this next ship is kind of an example of that. The Hurricane for $195. I don't think, what is the in-game price of the Hurricane? I don't think it's much more than a couple million.
Oh, the Hurricane? Yeah, it's cheap, like 1.8 million or 1.2 million. Yeah, 1.2 million. Yeah,
so Hurricane at 195. First of all, very, very capable, very fun ship. If you and a buddy, this is a ship that's got it's got good pilot firepower, but it's got that turret, and the combined, it's kind of the Scorpius before the Scorpius, the Hurricane. Of course, the original concept sale of 160 certainly was a better gig, but the Hurricane being what it is, and kind of knowing, where you're at, and with the, I actually. With it, I don't know that I think it's like somewhere like it's less than 2 million. So
it's 1,200,000. That's how much it is in game. Right?
Oh yeah, 1,200,000. I'm not kidding. Like, I've done some 2-hour streams where, I know I've made like 800,000.
Oh yeah, I mean, look,
in game currency.
Most definitely. Yes, I know. Most times I go out. Most times, we go out mining. I know I at least make 2 million a day.
Yep.
Because I'm out there for about 3 or 4 hours. So, I mean, I know sometimes it can be leaner, but most definitely I know I can make about 2 million in a day. So. Actually, its in-game price, I think it's, I feel like that's kind of cheap, since it's a pretty meta ship right now. I mean, it has been for a little while.
Yeah, it actually kind of I didn't quite can I just say I didn't realize it was 1.2, and had I realized it was 1.2, I probably would put one of these in my hangar.
Oh yeah, I mean, I collect these all the time. I'll just go out and buy a bunch of these fighters, just for the giggles. But at 195, man, that's, and you'll see that. I mean, that's kind of a precedence with a lot of these fighters. They're in that 200 range, and for these fighters and it being so cheap in game, you kind of look at it, and that is most definitely skewed. So, as those price points go.
Now, next ship on the list is one of my favorites in the game currently, and that is the Constellation Taurus. And I will tell you, I did the Constellation Taurus when it was $150. That was what in 2014, I originally pledged a Cutlass Black, and I did upgrade the Cutlass Black to the Constellation Taurus. when it was $150. And you know, really, the Constellation Taurus is in a unique spot. There's not too many ships that have the almost 200 SCU of hauling, with as much pilot-controlled firepower. You do lose the snub, 174 SCU, 2 size 5, 2 size 4s on the front of it. You know, not quite as many missiles as the Andromeda, but certainly a healthy count of missiles. And so I did find the original concept price at $150. You know, considering it was a $50 upgrade for me at the time, a good purchase. At $190, I don't like it as much, but I can tell you that I do think that, you know, this is. There's 2 ships that, to me, that I like to have that will have me on my feet pretty quickly: a Prospector and a Taurus. You know, it's got enough firepower to kind of to punch through, and it's hauling enough where, you know, if you get 174 SCU of Quantanium on board, you're clearing a couple. I think it's 2.1 or 2.2 million.
It's I think it's become our standard operating procedures with as it relates to hauling. You know, and it's kind of funny that you know, before we even knew each other, we were both running the Taurus as our go-to carrier. And then, you know, when we met, it was just kind of funny that how many parallels that we share.
Yep.
So yeah, for a lot of people, I think it's definitely a go-to ship. It is also pretty tanky. It's a very sturdy ship. I don't know how many times I've been caught out, and you know, I run those. You know, the FR-76s on that, and you know, when I get caught out, and I've had 3 people on my butt, and I just move everything to shields and just keep it rotating, and it can tank things pretty well with it. Yeah, it's just a sturdy old gal, and usually can get away pretty good with it. Throw a few missiles people's way and kind of break the tension and get the hell out of Dodge. Yeah, love the ship. At 190, yeah, that's high. You know, and I know for people that's been following along, especially with, you know, we've kind of kept things, you know, at that $100 price point. I know things, you know, in the real world, you know, if we had a hard cap of something like, some of the ships that are definitely that you would want them to be higher end, something like the 8, you know, where we're saying like the 890 and things like that being around $400. But you know, we kind of set a precedence, and I know there's a lot more gradient to it than just that, you know, because a lot of these other ships you know, probably should have been a little lower than 100, and some should have been about 100, and some just a little bit more than that. But you know, at $100, I would have bought the Taurus all day long.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer at $100. That's you know, and I did find enough value in it at 150. Like I said, it was only a $50 upgrade at the time from a 2014 investment, so I wasn't necessarily feeling like I was spending $150, even though I kind of, you know, by every stretch of the imagination, I certainly was.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see that it jumped to 190 that quick. You know, I mean, you know, a 40. I mean, it's a fairly healthy percentage, you know, jump. But $100 all day long, every day, I'd buy that ship. And and I'm okay with it. I think I think it's a great ship. And moving on.
Well, especially, it would take it would take a long time to kind of go through these gradients, but you got to think, right? You start looking at the two differences between, say, the Taurus and the Hurricane, or the Taurus and like the Super Hornet that we're going to be looking at, or the Saber or something. You know, it's a weird on the pricing, and I guess we could go through this whole thing. I mean, we've kind of kept it simple math, or kind of a, you know, honestly, to be real, it's kind of a thumbs up or a thumbs down on a lot of this stuff. But
definitely,
you know, you got to think about it. How much more ship is the Taurus than the Hurricane, or how much more ship is the Taurus than like the Super Hornet? It's, you got a multi-crew ship, pretty big. It's like you got four people can play. More people than that, but it's set up for 4 people. Got a huge cargo bay. A lot of wild, fun gameplay that you can have. It's a very versatile ship.
Yep.
How much more ship are you getting with a Taurus than you are a Hurricane?
Yeah, I mean, you can load a couple ROCs on there. Wait till that tractor beam on the bottom of the Taurus works, and how fast you're going to be able to, say, grab boxes with that tractor beam and move them. It has very good visibility on its cargo bay when it's down. That's a huge thing, and it's also got it does have the smuggler's hold where the snub goes. In that far back, you have that shielded cargo, so you can do a little smuggling with it. You can, like I said, you can carry ground vehicles with it. It's 174 SCU. When they get some different trading mechanics in place, and maybe there's some AV equipment or some type of thing where you're getting some good margin. That 174 SCU is very respectable. I mean, much more than a freelancer, 3 times a freelancer. You know what I mean? So a very respectable cargo hold, tons of forward firing power. 2 size 5, 2 size 4 is very respectable. It does have a turret as well, on the top, which is, a little bit more firepower. And then, a pretty good load of missiles. It is a very well-rounded ship, and it's a very good point you're making, Zel. I mean, it's not to say, by no stretch of the imagination are we saying the Saber Comet's a bad ship, or are you saying the Super Hornet's a bad ship? But they're going to be very single purpose.
There's got a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more ship. I mean, that thing. Yeah, it's a pretty big ship. It's it's in that pretty good sweet spot for the way the size of the ships go. So I guess that's a point I'm trying to make, is that the way they got a lot of these fighters priced, you're just like, wow, you can get a lot more ship for the money.
Yeah.
Than you can, in some of these fighters. So,
and I mean, I honestly believe, in my heart, that a lot of these fighters at the $50 to $75 range, they'd sell a ton more of them. But that's a drum beat. That's that's a drum that's getting hit pretty hard here. So. Yeah,
it's kind of the underlying theme of this exercise. So
we're going to talk a lot about as we go through the fighters. There's a lot of variants to these, and in most cases we're going to handle the variants. You know what I mean? Kind of all in one. So the next ship on the list being the Saber Comet, $185. Good fighter. Definitely not something I'd pay $185 real dollars for.
Nope. I mean, I like the Saber. I think it's cool.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I just look. I guess it's another one of those. It should be priced around that $70-$75 mark.
Yep.
It's it's not that much in game either. Well, I think, what is it? Can't remember how much the Saber is in game, but it's not that much. I think, yeah, 1.2 million.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Once again, I mean, honestly, 1.2 million. I'm not exaggerating. It's no more than 4 hours of mining.
Yeah, that's the Comet. It's the limited one. The Saber, Saber, I guess, is what the in-game one is. It's a little bit down on our list, but the Comet is kind of a special edition model. So
yeah. The Comet was the Comet the one that you had to buy the Intel. Wasn't there one of them that you had to buy you had to buy some kind of a hard drive or something to get it?
Yeah, it was like a package deal. I think AMD had something like that.
Yes, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on from the Comet, you get the Super Hornet at $180. Not too far off of and at 175 you get there's a couple different variants. You get the Super Hornet at 180. You have the Wildfire at 175. I'll tell you, it was interesting to me is the Hornet Ghost down there at 125. It's probably my favorite one. It's $50 cheaper.
Yep.
$50 cheaper, which is interesting to me. I mean, I like the Ghost. I mean, I like the, and of course, who knows what the Tracker may certainly have some, it may have some dual purpose capability with being able to find things. But yeah, it's interesting to me. What do you think it is between? I mean, obviously we know the Hornet Wildfire is just kind of a skin, right? If I'm not mistaken, for the most part. There may be some other things to it that I don't know. But what do you think? I mean, why is the Ghost 125 and the Super Hornet or the Wildfire is 175? What do you think the $50 difference is there? Did I lose ya? Hello? We might have lost Zel. That's so funny. I'm going to write down the time here. Zel and I were chatting, and he has gotten quiet here for a moment.
Well, I'm back from outer space.
I wrote down the time, sir. So just to kind of what do you think? I mean, why do you think the Ghost is 125 and the Super Hornet is 175 or 180?
It's a turret.
Oh, the Ghost doesn't have the turret.
No, Ghost is supposed to be the under the radar,
the stealth variant.
The stealth variant.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's an expensive real dollar turret. But you know what? Yeah, I mean, a lot more firepower. A lot more firepower.
With a lot of these, it isn't now, but at some point, those turrets are going to be where you can pull them off and put them on. So in game, eventually.
Yep.
You can't now, but eventually, I think that's the idea with a lot of those big ball turrets that go in, that slot in that space, like on the Super Hornet.
Yeah, no problem. There's a few ships that have that kind of. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but a few of them that are going to kind of like, you're going to be able to take some of the parts off of them. I think for instance, the Starfarer comes to mind. They talk about how you're going to be able to you'll be able to choose between whether or not on, for instance, the military variant. Do you want the extra size 6 fuel scoop on the front, or do you want to have the missile pod? The missile pods on the front of it. So there are going to be some interchangeable parts between some of these variants.
Yeah, I mean, you get that right now with with most of the Vanguard variants.
Oh, they're nose cannons, yeah.
Yeah, you can you can generally spec out those Vanguards the same.
Yep.
So that and at some point the Hornets will be that way as well.
All right, kind of moving on here. Freelancer Miss. $175. The military version of the Freelancer. What do you think of that price for that guy?
No.
I'm in the same boat. I'm going to be no. No, I don't mind that version of the ship.
No, I mean, look, I like all the freelancers. It's one of the things. I bought the Freelancer and the Freelancer Max back in the day when I've owned those ships for a long, long time. So I always dug that Freelancer look. It kind of reminded me of Firefly. Gave me that Firefly vibe. So I always dug that Freelancer style. Yeah, for what it is, and if we're gonna say that, like the Taurus is $100, I'd say the Freelancer or the Misk being the big missile variant. I'd say to me that sounds more like an $80 ship.
Yes. A little more, yeah. Little more stout, more missiles. I'm okay. Yeah, at $80. Yes, exactly.
In game, I think it's like 2.5 mil. So.
Yep, easy pickings.
Easy pickings.
Here's another ship that I was surprised to see at this price point for sure. It is the Cutlass Blue. Cutlass Blue at 175 real world dollars.
I think we ran across the steel like last week, and we were just like, I think a lot of people have mentioned that it's just at that price is just egregious. Holy cow!
Well, and it runs into that drop ship, like a tax or whatever. But that ship in particular,
dude, man, it's a Cutlass.
I mean, I really do.
Yeah, it's got guns everywhere, but it's still a Cutlass.
It's so funny because I think that they were trying to kind of pair that with Jump Town 2.0 a little bit. I think there was some marketing stuff there where they kind of got themselves I don't know, they drank their own Kool-Aid a little too much on the old Cutlass Steel or something. We do love CIG, and we love all the ships. That ship was interesting, way too expensive. And Cutlass Blue, one of the things I will say, Cutlass Blue does have a unique capability. It's one of the few ships that that has the capability to kind of
the interdiction.
Yeah, keep you from going into quantum to get away. So there's the Mantis that will kind of snare you out of quantum, but the Cutlass Blue will lock you down, so you can't. It's the police car variant, so it's kind of like
it's has that quantum dampening. So
yes, but that being said, once again, you're looking at the price. Just for the Cutlass Blue in game, it's 2.5 million. So, you start out on a, like I said, we're gonna beat this drum a lot. You start out on a Monday, and really, if you work really hard at it, by Monday night you got it. But by Tuesday night you got the money. You definitely got the money. And so, I listen, I understand somebody might work an extra 2 or 3 hours and they really want the Cutlass Blue. And if you do, happens. Nothing wrong with it, but, probably a ship. To me, the Cutlass Blue's around that $80 price point. That's where I think it would be. How about you, Zel?
Yeah, as Cutlass goes, it's probably, for me, It's probably one of the more cooler looking cutlasses. Got that, that more rounded front end.
Yep.
It's blue with all the lights. I mean, it's it's got the the jail cells in it, and it does have that quantum dampener that has the interdiction. So I mean, it's cool. But yeah, it's I definitely believe that at that $80 price point, I think that's a good price for it. I think you would have sold a whole crap load of those at that. And hey, I think they sold, even at 150, I think people bought, quite a few of them. But
I mean, even 100, I will just be honest, 150 does feel better than 175. I mean,
yeah, it does. But then when you look at the base model variant, you're like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, look, your mileage may vary, your personal taste may be different, and absolutely, if you feel like you would like to own it, because hey, man, we're in that same boat. Talked about it all the time. Still go through those moments where I feel like I need to buy something because it does, man. It psychologically gives you that sense of that weird sense of ownership. But yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those cases where I mean, I like it and it's cool, but it's just not my wheelhouse anyway. So
yeah, and quantum interdicting people and kind of and they've kind of got. I think it seems like they have like in the back of it almost like this carbonite type storage, for like criminal storage type thing. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it's not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but it definitely does does have a unique. That is there's not a lot of ships that quantum interdict. There's not a lot of ships that quantum dampen. And so I think in that capacity, it's kind of neat. $80, I'd have bought it. All right, so we're looking here. The next one that I think is probably worth a mention here is the Cartual.
It's interesting because it gets brought up. It's kind of become a meme. But funny enough, this doesn't seem, this is kind of priced around the same price point as these other fighters. It doesn't seem like this particular ship got hit with the alien tax. Because it's at, sitting right now at 170. Same price point as it's cheaper than the Hornet and the Super Hornet. Cheaper than it's around that same price as the Saber. The Gladiator is 165, which will be coming up. So it's all in that same range. So it didn't look like it got hit with the alien tax. So it seems like it's priced around the same price point as these other fighters. So
this is an incredibly nimble ship. The one thing I will say is it's squishy and it only has 2 size 3s. That's it. Yeah. 2 size 3s. So yeah, that's pretty steep price. You know what I mean? Now, is it a cool looking ship? It really is. I definitely think the Cartual would be, man, if you put that around $65,
Yeah, because honestly,
2 size 3s, yikes.
Yeah, exactly, and it is a cool ship.
Oh yeah.
But how many times have you seen them out in the PTU? Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. I mean, and it's only $2.1 million in game to buy.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap to buy.
But because it's only 2 size 3s, a lot of people don't. That's like Aurora class.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. The Aurora firepower. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Am I? I don't. Let me go look. I didn't realize it was just 2 size 3s. I mean, that is pretty low. Let's take a look at an Aurora LX. I'm just gonna kind of take a look there. Oh, those are 2 size 1. Okay,
Well, yeah, it would be more like the Avenger.
right. Okay, I got a little over my. Yeah, the Avenger. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, not terrible. You can certainly work with 2 size 3s, but man, not a ton of firepower there.
Yeah.
Cool
yeah.
ship though, squishy. You can blow. It is very maneuverable in the right hands of deadly ship, kind of like the Arrow in that capacity.
Yeah, it's kind of it is definitely one of those ships that it's got to be a death by 1,000 cuts, literally.
Yeah, yep. And if it takes a hit for sure, it can lose an engine or like kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's very spidery looking ship, and you can peel one of those spider legs off pretty easy.
yeah. If you get hit, you're toast. It's not like a lot of these ships that you lose an engine, you're still in the game.
No.
This one, I think you lose an engine, I think you're toast.
Yep.
So
if your maneuverability is cut down in that thing at all, you're gonna buy the farm pretty quick.
well, yeah, that's its only defense is that it is highly maneuverable.
Yep.
So
Well, moving on down here, is the Gladiator a 165, and I want to tell you, I actually like the Gladiator. It definitely suffers the same kind of fate for me in the sense that that it's an interesting ship. I mean, you got your 2 size 3s. It's got a little turret on it, but it does pack a punch with some missiles. So the Gladiator to me is a ship that should be about $85.
yeah, it'd fallen out of the meta a long time ago.
Yep.
I think for a lot of people, the Gladiator definitely needs some love with the combat rework. So,
And I think that's a pretty popular opinion too. I think most people are in the same boat with that. So, all right, moving on to my favorite ship in the game, the Prospector. The Prospector is going to be my kind of this week's endeavor. I know it's $155, and that's a lot of money. But if you enjoy mining, if you actually like the gameplay of Star Citizen, if you enjoy it, this ship will absolutely print you money in game. I have bought tens of millions of dollars worth of ships because of the Prospector in game, and because of that, I 100% all day long have no. If you've gotten into Star Citizen and you got yourself a starter pack and you've decided that you enjoy it, and you are into industrial gameplay, and I really do hope that the Vulture, I hope I can say with as much confidence, in 318 that the Vulture is the same exact thing. It's just a fun ship to fly. I love everything about this ship. But here, the thing that I love the most is it absolutely, if I want whatever ship in the game, I can use the Prospector to get me that ship. And that's the reason why. Like right now, I can log on to Star Citizen and in 1 hour, I can have anywhere from 250 to 500,000 in the hopper. You can make money hand over fist with the Prospector. And because of that, I have no problem at the $155 price point. Do I like it better at its original concept sale of $140? I do. But, and I really do hope that they come out with a 2-seater, like a version, that's not terribly too much more than that. I'd love to see maybe the $200, mining ship that's a 2-seater or whatever. But yeah, I could go on all day about this ship, Zel, so take it away.
well, as for the purposes of this exercise, and just for full disclosure, I too own this ship.
Yep.
So, for its ability, yeah, I mean, we we didn't think twice about buying it, but that's in this, all things being equal. But for this purpose of this exercise, what, with the precedent that we've already set, what price should this be priced at? You know, it's, if you think about it, it's going to make more money than the fighters. So would it be more or less, or, with the size of the ship, should it be more like an $80 ship? I mean,
It's a great question. I guess let me ask you this, because it's an excellent question. Okay, obviously we know the Hurricane would be very capable of it, with two people at the helm. And I'm talking about if you're going to do bounty hunting and you're going to do the maximum, difficulty bounty huntings. Can you do that with a Saber Comet? I mean, and I'm talking like, I don't know if you've flown like the ones like 317-2. Bounty hunting's harder. Much harder in its current state. I mean, I think you can probably pull them off in the Super Hornet.
Well, also too, yes, it is harder, and as the game goes on, it's going to get even harder.
Yes.
So,
I mean, this is one thing. The Prospector. I mean, unless you really hose up, you should be fine in that thing. Don't get me wrong. You can blow yourself right out. You blow yourself to smithereens in the Prospector if you do mining wrong when it comes to. But you're not necessarily like going into combat every single time.
No, but let's be fair. When we first were learning the Prospector, I think we blew ourselves up quite a little bit.
Or smashed into stations, or did all sorts of stuff. You bet.
Because you haven't really got your timing down just right.
You're like, sure.
You're holy shit. Especially if you had a load of Quantanium on board, you're like hauling ass back to the refinery. Like, I gotta go, and come in way too hot. How many times have we just wiped out on the pad?
Oh Lord, it's endless.
So yeah, it's got a learning curve. It really does.
It does.
So that's why you need to come over to the org so we can teach you guys how to mine.
Oh, we can absolutely teach you how to mine. The Explorers League has got some really, really competent mining people in it, and Zel and I are love the mining gameplay loop, and we've been, I mean, things are a little quieter around the old league right now, but we have had sometimes 15, 20, 25 people out mining, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you got 2 or 3 guys out there doing it, or 5 or 10 guys out there doing it, or 15. It's just a blast. It's a lot of fun. You get the prospectors going, you get the moles going, you get the scouts going, you get some Overwatch going. It really is one of the quintessential, fun things to do in Star Citizen. Everybody makes a little money that night. You're gonna have some fun on Discord.
We have such a great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just a great bunch of guys, and it's just a blast. So
yeah,
and something that we do, like you said, we had, kind of getting everything back together, and we're getting back to consistency, and we like to go. We like to have our nights, and we're really really consistent with it. So it's always a lot of fun. But kind of getting back to the Prospector. With the precedent that we've set with this exercise, would it be for what it is? Would it be a $100 ship, or would it be more like an $80 ship?
I think I have no problem somewhere between 90 and 110 for it.
You think?
Yep. I mean, that's just, I honestly, and it's only because it's such a potent other ship collector that I feel that way. And listen, I'm not going to lie. I have a bias for this ship. It's my favorite ship in the game. And as it sits today, if somebody, like I said, if I don't have any problem telling somebody to buy it at 100 and, 150, bucks, what it is, $155. I don't.
Well, look, yes, we have said this, is a definite buy. Something that we feel pretty strongly about, just for, like you said, it allows you to buy every other ship in the game. So it is definitely a strong moneymaker. And, something that we've been talking about for a long time. We definitely would like to see other variants of mining ships out there. 2 and 3 crew mining ships. So, hopefully, they'll come to the game as well. But as starting out, the one thing that we definitely advocate for is, if you're going to be buying a ship in the game, might as well buy a ship that is going to allow you to be able to purchase other ships, especially during this development cycle where, and this is probably going to be the new normal for a long time. They're going to be wiping it until they get a lot of this server stuff figured out. Every time they come up with a new patch, they're going to wipe your money. So for that very reason, it's the best ship to get started again in. So,
well, with that out of the frying pan into the fire, here's the Razor EX. To me, $155. First of all, the Razors are fun ships. This is a $45 ship in my mind. To me.
Well, it really is. We like it. We've owned it and had a lot of fun in it. It's definitely one of those ships. As a matter of fact, I think we've flown it into the bays of a lot of these other ships, like the C2, and actually, I think I've flown it into a lot of other ships. Right into the right into the back door. No, it's a cool little ship, but at that price, no way. At 45, 50 bucks. Yeah, I probably would have bought it for that.
$45, I'd have pulled the trigger. You start getting in the 50, and then I start thinking about other, where other ships should have been. At that price point. So, not a whole lot more needs to say. 2 size 2s. It's just a little zippy little ship. It's a little racer type ship. I think a $45 price point is, right around 45 to 55. It does have some rule of cool. So, if it was a little more than that, I could deal with it. But hey, that's kind of where it's at. Freelancer Max at $150. I will tell you, I think about the Taurus when it was $150, and it was just more ship. And I understand the Taurus is no longer $150. And I will tell you, I love the Freelancer Max. I use that thing. I used it for 6 months. I bought one in game. It's the first dedicated hauler ship I bought. I have nothing but good things to say about the ship. I like the way it flies. It is the Freelancer Max is a sneaky, and then we are talking about the Max variant, just so we're careful. The Max variant, it is a sneaky good rock carrier. You can get 2 rocks in there, easy peasy. That I think it's 120. I should know this right off the top of my head. I think it's 122 SCU. Great ship. You know, I would be okay with this ship at probably $70.
Yeah, that's a good price for it. You know, as the freelancers go, and hey, look, I like the freelancer style. I do. It is most definitely the sexiest out of the the freelancer variants to me.
The double wide.
Well, yeah, just you know what it gives me, and I know this is weird, but I think we've all went through that phase when we were kids, and you always wanted the muscle cars, man, with the big fat back wheels, the big fat back tires. So
Yep.
that's kind of what it puts me in the mind of, is like, it's got big fat mags on it.
I like it. I mean, that's a pretty fun way to look at it. I mean, if you flow the regular freelancer around and you kind of like that thing, when you walk up to a Max, you kind of smile. Now, the one thing I will say is the Max, there's the black and goldish paint job, I think, and that one looks a lot cooler than the old creamsicle. But yeah, it's a great ship. It's just $150. I wouldn't recommend it. $150. It's only a $2.1 million in game to purchase, and so I honestly would just I would take 32 SCU runs. I'd use something like a Prospector, rent a Cutlass Black, and do 1-to-1 runs until I bought the Freelancer Max. In game and I don't know how much more the Taurus is in game than the Freelancer Max, but
Quite
the Freelancer, I think it is. It's enough to where I think I'd probably purchase the Max before I bought the Taurus.
Well,
and there is no resell mechanic in the verse right now. I hope someday you can let's say you buy a ship for 2.1. I hope that you can take a ship to a used ship dealer and get like 1.6 out of it or something, depending on its condition, type of thing.
It's and it should be. I think it's about $1 million more than the Max, the Taurus. But something that we kind of brought up last week as well is that we feel like the in-game pricing also probably needs a little bit of a rework, because we definitely need more variation between the prices. Like for the Max, I'd say the Max is probably pretty okay around that 2 million, 2.5 million price range, because we definitely need to be scaling these things up. Where I feel like, say, like the Taurus, I think it's three something, needs to probably be in that 4 mil price range, because I definitely believe, for the SCUs, it definitely needs a higher price point between the two, because I definitely feel like a lot of these things should be more incremental instead of being so closely priced together, because you have no sense of climbing that ladder when you're jumping up between ships. I think there definitely needs to be more variation in the pricing between a lot of these ships. So.
And with that variation, if you're going to make ships more, allow people to buy into the ship and then sell it back out again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, there are a lot of whoever plays our system. They know you can't sell it. You buy your ship. You own your ship. So if I buy like a Freelancer Max at 2.1, and it's like I can't just use it for a while and then buy a Taurus. Sell it and buy a Taurus. Get half the money back out of it. You're kind of back to square zero.
Yeah, you need that used car ship sale. That used car type of ship sale where you take it in game. The Freelancer Max was 2.1 million. You need to be able to take it to the used ship lot and sell it for $1 million or $1.5 million.
Yep.
It
Get some
definitely
value back
should have,
out of it. Yep.
yeah, it definitely should have a little bit of depreciation in there, but not where you're basically starting from square one again.
Yeah. And let them recondition them, and maybe they sell some reconditioned ones that maybe don't have as cool components in them for cheaper or something. I don't know. They could definitely do something more robust with the used ship type thing, or allow you to sell them to players. I mean, heck, what a fun thing to be able to negotiate. You know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's just something.
But as a game standpoint, I think you should have that sense of gaining that sense of accomplishment of working towards the next goal. And I think a lot of these ships should be priced in that sense where as cargo ships roll, the Freelancer Max is kind of in that out of the beginner into that novice, and then you go from the novice to once you hit that Taurus level, you're kind of in that expert, and then you go beyond that to say the C2s or the hulls or whenever they get into the game. So
couldn't agree more.
It should have that feeling like you're climbing the ladder a little bit. So.
All right, moving on here to probably one of the best values you're going to get in the game right now, and that's the Retaliator base at $150. Zel,
Yeah,
I will let you riff away. I know you love the ship at this price.
Yeah, at this price, this is another this is definitely another solid recommendation. We only have a few. If you're gonna spend your hard-earned cash, this is definitely one to go for, because at $150, you're getting a lot of ship. You really are. When it goes live, the price of this ship is going to really jump up. When they get the base worked out. One of the great things about having the Retaliator base is that it's going to have some modularity to it, so you'll be able to swap out a lot of parts for this. It's going to have it's going to be a really versatile ship. And even if you're looking at it as a you're wanting to CC up to something else, it's a good bang for the buck, because this thing is really going to go up in price. I'd say this thing is going to, most definitely be, you can buy it for $150 today, and once the base gets in game, it'll be over $200.
Yeah, the modularity is great in this thing. I agree 100% with everything Zel said there. You can't go wrong with this thing. It's one of those ones where, because it's going to have the modularity, the versatility, it's kind of hard to. I don't know that I'm okay with $150 for this thing. It's got a missile variant. It's going to have kind of a, it's kind of like does that thing to me that the Taurus does in a way. It does things. It's got a little bit of a cargo variant. It's got kind of some living quarter variants. It's got a jump ship type thing. So you can actually get this base and have it do several things for you. A lot of versatility. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, you can put those big torpedoes back,
Size 9s. Yep.
Yeah, and it's also going to be stealthy too. So at this price point, awesome ship. I could see it even probably going up to $300 when this goes live. So if you're wanting to use it as a kind of an investment to maybe melt it up to something else, I don't think you can go wrong. It's definitely a good recommendation. So the Prospector, let's be fair with what the Prospector can do. It's worth its price, but Retaliator is a lot bigger ship than the Prospector. You're gonna get a lot more ship out of at $150. So this ship, Prospector and the Endeavor are, our recommendations.
So far, absolutely. I could not agree with that more. Prospector, Retaliator Base, Endeavor are three ships that if you go out and spend the money for those, I wouldn't have any problem with it. You know what I mean? I think that's, and of course, like I said, spend your money how you want. You know what I mean? But I think reasonable arguments could be made on the value of those particular ships. Good ship, the Retaliator Base, for sure. Moving on to the SRV. Interesting thought. I mean, SRV is not in the game yet, of course. So we don't really know what its towing capacity is going to be, right? The SRV is kind of the tugboat, the space tug. And if for some reason, that it's, there's other ways to use that SRVs, if you can move rocks and cargo, and I mean, if that thing's versatile like that, I mean, now $150 for it as a concept right now, I think it's pretty steep.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know its capabilities just yet. It's definitely one of those things that has that unknown factor to it. $150,
I mean, these things may be an absolute requirement in the future game.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people kind of bought it at that price. At 150, I don't know, man. I think that it's not worth the 150, but it's more in line with probably where maybe in that $90 price range if it's going to be a big tug. So,
well, the one thing I will say is I have a hard time believing this SRV is going to be really, really, really expensive in game. I mean, unless that technology is incredibly expensive of tractor beam technology, or there's something I don't understand mechanically. The SRV is probably going to be, a couple $1 million ship.
Yeah, it's going to be priced like the Prospector.
Yeah,
most likely. I mean, it's roughly the same size as a Prospector, I think. So I mean, I'm really curious to see what it's.
And there's a million cool things. Like if you think about it, it can go like if the tank is on its side, you can maybe be able to upright the tank. I mean, all sorts of applications for having a big old tractor beam. And one of the things that Zel and I have talked about, one of our favorite thoughts in game, is like pulling up from a salvage standpoint into kind of a derelict, kind of a ship graveyard where there's been maybe like a ship battle, and there's a lot of like derelict husks floating around, and taking something like the SRV and kind of sorting the wheat from the chaff, having that thing pull the nice ships over to maybe obviously you can always grab onto it with the cruncher of the reclaimer, but the SRV would be great to just kind of stage. I'm going to grab this thing, pull it over, and stage this thing so you can chew it up. You know what I mean? Type of thing. So the SRVs, I mean, the concept's amazing for it. $150 just seems, pretty steep.
No, yeah, most definitely. I think, I mean, it's not a terrible price at $150, I guess, but it might have been better at around, to be honest, realistically, it should have been more like 120.
I agree with that. 115, 120, yeah, absolutely.
But for the exercise, this little, I don't know, maybe 90, from what we were talking about, something like that.
Yep.
For its capabilities.
The Mantis is right in there too at 150. Now we talked about quantum interdiction. There was the quantum dampening, and then there's kind of the quantum interdiction part of it where it can actually snare you. So if you're heading from one point to another, and the Mantis can set up and actually pull you out of Quantum. $150 ship. Very, kind of classically squishy. Cool tech. Very cool looking. Actually, a cool looking ship. I think that they did a good job with the way that ship looks. It's it's very RSI. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's almost like a touch of a mini.
It's very Star Trek-y.
It is. Cool ship. I think, to be honest with you, because of its cool technology, I think a $90 price point would have been, because of it has this unique capability. I think that would have been a far better price for it myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would probably buy one for 90. 150 is just a bridge too far for me.
I agree. Oh yeah, I mean, as with most things, So. All right. Let's see, where are we next?
Well,
kind of already pulled the razors, so we kind of.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing, Zel, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this. So, we have talked about this kind of Wal-Mart type thing, right? Well, the Hull series, they actually kind of did that, like at first. And the Hull B right now is $140, but its original concept price was $90. Now, I think that they were maybe smaller SCU then. They must have increased the SCU. This thing's 384 SCU.
Well,
for a hauler.
Yeah, I mean, look, for the Hull B, out of all the ships that we've spoken about, except for the ones that we've recommended,
the Endeavor, the Prospector.
Yeah, this is about one of the only ships that we're almost almost in line with what we've been talking about the whole time. It was at $90, yeah, or as much as that can haul. I mean, it's just, it's definitely short of the C2, but the C2 is way more. Its price point is
$500.
Yeah, it's not for $90, man. Yeah, that's pretty decent. I mean,
even really by today's money, $90 for that Hull B seems fine.
Yeah.
I mean, 384 SCU. That thing's it's hauling around an awful lot of stuff. And so, it's two trips. It's two trips instead of one, but it's one-fifth the price,
Yeah, well, for 300 and 300 something SCU, you could definitely make a lot of cheese with that thing.
You could, yeah.
So
so basically what we're saying is the concept. We really like the concept price at $90. I think it's great. Its current price at $140.
That's a little high.
It is a little high. I mean, if it was 110, okay. I mean, it's 384 SCU. There's really nothing in that class at that, So, I could see that or whatever, but obviously we need to see a lot happen with cargo hauling and
we really haven't got to see what these whole series, how loading and unloading the cargo on these, especially when you go beyond the Hull A, because I think the Hull B, I don't think you can land it fully laden. So, how that's going to play out, that's going to be a curious thing.
Yeah, I think the B is. I could be wrong. Well, you look at it and then you think, no, there's no way because it's got the spindles actually go down below. So I thought the B was the last one that you could. I guess it must just be the Hull A is the only one that can get in the atmospheric. Because you look at the B spindles, there's no way. Yeah, there's just no way. So, I mean, unless there's something happening there, I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, very cool ship, the Hull B. The Hull series in general. I think in their original concept prices, probably a lot better deal. The Hull C's. What was it? Just kind of curious. What was the? I know it was it was a more expensive ship. The Hull C. What was its original concept price? Cause man, the Hull B for $90 would have been the 384 SCU hauler for $90. Kind of a steal. Very very good price on the original concept for that. So
I agree.
All right. Well, let's see. I am curious. I'm gonna see if I can see it one more time. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time looking around. Let's see here. It was. What was the Hull C? Maybe I can just hit find here. Hold on. No, I'm in the wrong thing. Find Hull C. Oh, okay. It's not on this. It's not on this list. Okay, no problem. I was like, I definitely see that right now the standalone price is $350. I guess the concept sale was $200 for the Hull C. So it did make a pretty significant jump from $90 to $200. It was kind of a curiosity of mine, which the Hull C hauls an enormous amount. I mean, but it was just a curiosity of mine. So a much more, you definitely would have had to invested a lot more money into that situation. So interesting. All right. Moving on to the Vulture at $140. What's your thoughts on the Vulture?
Well, it definitely has a parity with the Prospector.
Yes.
As it relates to the price of it at 140, we just don't know how salvage is going to play out just yet. So we can't really say, well, if it is parodying the Prospector, would you be able to make the kind of money? And I guess that would kind of be able to, where we would put it in line, because we do recommend buying the Prospector. So, in that same line of thinking, if money-making opportunities were comparable to the way, salvage was going to be comparable to what mining was, let's just say it this way. If they were comparable in money-making ability, would you, because obviously it's $15 more for the Prospector. Would you recommend the Vulture if you could make the same kind of money that the Prospector?
Can I just state for the record, I am crossing my fingers and hoping beyond hope that you can make the same kind of money with the Vulture, because salvage gameplay is very important to me, and I would hate to see a situation where you have to spend twice as much time in the thing to earn the same amount of money as the Prospector. And who knows? I mean, listen, how they introduce those game mechanics now and how it's all going to play out in the end, who knows? That being said, the $140 price, we're starting to get into a price range where if the ship is going to produce in-game revenue to a point where it's going to unlock, the ability for me to actually, make, and that's the one thing I think that Star Citizen did. I like the fact that yes, you can buy these ships. I mean, but I also like the fact that you can just buy these ships in game. You know what I mean? Now, I'm going to have a hard time not buying a Vulture between now and 3.18. I'll tell you that right now. If people are going to be running around with Vultures and it's making, we'll have to see what Eva Cotty, and the PTU is really, it's going to be interesting, because if people are making, I could see myself doing a ton of vulturing. It's right in my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? And of course the Reclaimer is going to be a lot more like the Mole in that sense. You're going to need to have 2 or 3 or 4 people on there that are really really good at what good at doing their particular thing. You're going to have some good communication. We'll have to see how the vulture is, but if it's anywhere in the wheel, the same amount, I could see, I'm going prospect in one night, I'm going vulture in one night. I could definitely go. I hope, beyond hope, that it's as profitable. And if it's as profitable, I don't have a problem with this price.
Well, I guess that kind of brings in that unknown variable, whether it will be. Well, obviously it isn't going to be in its first iteration. So, in that sense, I mean, it's going to be very similar to the Prospector. It's the same thing, like the Expanse. When you're just kind of like, apples to apples, and thinking in those terms, it's like anything in this $130-$40, because once we start thinking of the Expanse at $130, you're like, wow, well, that doesn't seem like that much, because it's cheaper than the Prospector.
It's an excellent point. It really is. And if the Expanse, they talked about how the Expanse also will create some kind of like some components, some of its own kind of necessary, like part of the components to help kind of with the refining process. I mean, the Expanse gameplay sounds like it could be very cool. So it'll be interesting, obviously, but you're making an excellent point, it shouldn't be lost on anybody. Zel and I are very industrial based. When it's something that we feel like it's going to do salvage, we feel like it's going to do refining, we feel like it's going to do mining. It's really easy because we see it in game, how you can actually make money right now in the persistent universe. It's not, and obviously you can be pretty combat orientated. I'm not, you know what I mean? I enjoy the industrial gameplay. So, it is important that, that there's some variety in that. And I hope that, I definitely hope that there is.
Yeah, it's, I think it's going to be comfortably priced in game. It's probably going to be about $2 million. With the unknown factor, at $140. I mean, if you're comparing it to the Prospector, I guess it's a fairly decent deal. But for the point of this exercise, I don't know if it's, as we were saying, some other bigger ships and stuff earlier on, we would have bought those at $100 all day long. So I guess in that same line, it's definitely for the point of this exercise, probably a $90-$100 ship for me.
I could see that. All right, Cutlass Red. We're moving into that. Cutlass Red's in a weird place right now.
It really kind of is. And the funny thing, I use the Cutlass Red quite a little bit. It's for doing, some bunker missions, actually going and, deep diving those wrecks and things like that. I use it quite a bit. Is it kind of a bummer that it's med beds, or, they kind of nerfed them a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Although, I can say this. Being out and about, going to, doing those caterpillar dives and finding those other shipwrecks and things like that, I use that med bed a lot.
Yeah. And even for starvation issues.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been cheesing the mechanic by just getting on the bed.
For some reason, that bed is fills you right up.
Yep, sure does.
But no, I agree. Here's the one thing I will say. When it was a spawn point, $135 is, you could make an argument for it.
Well, it's concept price at 120.
You really make an
Definitely.
argument for that too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It was a spawn point. I mean, that's the thing. And so, yeah. I mean, we're starting to get down in these price areas where, I mean, it served a very unique purpose. Now, the other thing about the red, which is like what Zel's saying, I 100% agree. Excellent ship to take if you're going to be out there doing these kind of like, these what do you call that, parkour type. Going through the derelicts. Kind of using your tractor beam. And kind of pulling yourself through these kind of space derelicts with those. You're gonna get some bumps and some scrapes for sure. You're jumping, you're gonna get some bumps and scrapes. The red will take care of all that stuff for you. So that's really cool. And also, the hunger thirst mechanic, and also the red has sneaky good scanning capabilities. Like back in the day, I used to use the red for. The red could be argued for as a very good daily driver back in the day because it was a spawn point. But it also is a sneaky good rock hauler. You could pull the rock in the ROC directly in in the back, and because the ROC does empty out, you get out of the front of it, you could actually pull that thing right up against and just kind of empty yourself out right into the into the back area with the beds. It was a good rock hauler. You know what I mean? So I think the red is a ship now that's $75 maybe 70.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a good little ship, but yeah, in that $70 price point, I think you would have sold a ton of them. Even now, it is definitely a good ship. It's going to have excellent scanning ability. It's designed to find, to find down players on planets. It's got instead of having a top turret, it has a super potent spotlight.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that thing's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really cool, and it's a cool chip for gameplay. But yeah, it's definitely worth that $70 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they ever get downstates right, and they ever get kind of, I think Zel and I have talked about this a little bit, where you get kind of like the levitating gurney, where you can actually somebody puts out a medical beacon, you show up in a red, you kind of push the levitating gurney down, and then you're able to kind of tractor beam that person up onto the gurney and push them into the red and deliver them to a hospital or whatever and get. I think that's actually pretty fun gameplay, compelling.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be really cool, but when the Apollo comes online, is it going to kind of steal the Red's thunder a little bit?
Oh, I would have a hard time thinking it wouldn't. Cool ships, the Apollo. Both the triage and the.
Yeah, I mean, I think the medical gameplay is going to be, a lot of people are looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I definitely feel like it could be fun. We see it as a pretty awesome gameplay loop. So
yeah. All right, so there's the Freelancer Dur, which is kind of the exploration Freelancer at 135. I don't know that we need to spend a ton of time on that. To me, that ship that's more like a $65 to $75 range. Where are you at with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I most definitely, because it's kind of to be fair, it is kind of some of the just a step up from the starter ship level.
Yeah.
It's definitely in that novice gameplay. So, 135. Yeah.
So 350R at 125. A lot of people like that ship, the 350R.
I always liked it. That was one of my big origin chip moments.
Yeah.
He had that one earlier on, and my Star Citizen career, I bought that. It was another one of those things I bought straight up, just because I thought it was cool. It gave me that luxury sedan feeling.
Yep. 3 size 3s as well. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
It's a capable ship, and I think I think it's the 315 that's going to get the tractor beam. Also.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The 315P is a ship that's at $65. I love. You know what I mean? Absolutely love the 315P. And we'll talk about that, kind of as we get down to that price model. But the 350R, it's the racing variant. I could see that thing being more 75 to 80, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. For mine, I flew it around inside of Arena Commander, and in the race mode. That's about the only thing I could do, and instead of like staring at it in my hangar. But yeah, definitely like it. But you're right, it's most definitely that $70 price range ship, because it's comparable to the other fighters that we've seen on the list. If you wanted to even yeah. I feel like it's comparable. It could probably maybe go down a notch or two, because it's not as a I don't know. It's just a really nice ship. You get if you're kind of looking at it more as a fighter, it's probably not the best fighter, but as a get around ship, you got that whole interior that you can mess around with. It does have a we've been saying respawn, but it does have a bed in it, so you can log out from it and things.
Bed log, yep.
Yep. So and it also, I think they're still doing it, but you could definitely buy trim packages for the thing, so it was pretty neat.
Yeah, no, they do have those trim packages, which is fun, and I decked out my 315P, and eventually I think it's $95 or something with a coffee maker and all that crap on it, So moving on here, we talked about the Hornets a little bit. The Ghost is the cheap one at $125. I have a hard time thinking that thing's any more than a $60. In my mind, just like a $60 ship.
It's like with a lot of these fighters, they're still going to be probably in that price range. The Hornet, the Ghost variant, I don't know if it's, with the other Hornet variants, I know that because you have that middle section. I don't know if this section will. It may be hard locked in because it has its stealth capabilities, and it uses that stealth generator that's going to be right there in that center part where that ball turret goes. So I don't know about if you'll be able to swap it out for something else. I think that might be just the way that variant is. Same thing with the tracker. I'm not sure, but I know a few of those you're going to be able to swap that ball turret out and things. So you'd be able to put that ball turret in some of the one, like the regular old Hornet that doesn't have the ball turret, and kind of turn it into a Super Hornet somewhere down the road. But where at next? Raft,
yeah. So Raft is $125. I certainly like a lot better at $110. We haven't seen the external car. Like, the whole argument behind this ship is whether or not the external cargo is going to be faster than the internal cargo system. With the cargo refactor, is it going to be, with this thing, can it fly in, set down, and snatch 32 SCU, containers and just be gone? If that's the case, then there may be an argument to be made. And it's Argo cool. I don't mind the raft. I think it was 96 SCU hauler. I mean, if you think the concept for the hull be a 384 SCU hauler,
Yeah.
It's they're kind of not in the same wheelhouse even. I mean, even now, I mean, at $140, the hull B is only $15 more, and it can haul triple.
Yeah, just as an aside, with a lot of these, and you're definitely seeing that a lot in these cargo ships, is you're not seeing a lot of the raft is cool, but it probably needed a little bit more cargo capacity in my mind. It just blows me away that it is at the I feel like it definitely should have been more.
Yeah, I think
it definitely got hyped up.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, how you have the three. I think it would have been better if there was 5 32 SCU boxes and it was 160 SCU. I think it would have been a way better place for that ship.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the raft is, for me, is kind of in a weird spot.
Because if I'm hauling 96 SCU, man, an Andromeda's looking awful sweet. Same.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool, the raft is a cool ship, but
right.
Most definitely, and I don't think it's worth that 125.
It's hard to justify unless, like I said, we find out that the raft, it's landing and picking up, that 96 SCU in a quarter of the time of, say, an Andromeda. And if it did that, then hey, more power to it. Right. So now we're starting to move into some, here's in ships that were, the Talon and the Talon Shrike. The Talon, first of all, when it came into the game, was meta. Was absolutely just a dominating ship. And the 90 War Bond, or $100, I could see it. It's kind of settled down now. I mean, it's still a very powerful ship. I don't know that it's as, as kind of straight meta as it used to be. And it does have the, kind of the alien tax, but we're starting to now get into a price point that, you can look at it and, it's not egregious. It's, now I haven't flown the Talon or the Talon Shrike. I've flown the Talon. I haven't flown the Shrike variant. I can tell you one thing about the Talon. It's about the coolest cockpit you're ever going to see in a ship, though.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is cool. And the Shrike is just basically a missile variant of the Talon. And for the size of the ship, it does hold quite a few missiles. But you're absolutely right. Probably one of the cooler cockpits. I like the tech. I like the way it looks. It's it's got that bird, that kind of that very Raptor aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
I definitely dig that. But it's on the smaller, a little bit more fragile side. We're gonna talk about this one next. It kind of definitely fits in that same category. So you have the Talon. I think that's like a $60 ship to me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, if you wanted to give it an alien tax, fine, make it 70.
Yeah, but
But yeah, I don't disagree, and I don't.
And the Buccaneer is in that same category. It is most definitely in that $60 ship range. It's kind of the smaller the fighters.
Yeah, I mean, a buck could be $55 to me. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty fragile. It's got a lot of firepower. Got some big gigantic engines on it. But holy crap, you get
it's kind of like
good time and bam, that engine's coming right off.
Yeah, so. The buck is it's kind of like you have that neighbor who works on cars. or something. Puts a big old like a 351 Cleveland and a 76 Futura. You know, it's-
Oh, it definitely has that Vega vibe. Back in the day where people were, putting those big blocks in Vegas and with the big, got the big wide tires on the back.
yes,
Got
yes,
like a 411 posi track, man, and we got the the whole thing going on, or
yes,
that's yeah.
yes. It's just got that backyard mechanic feel to it. The buck or whatever. Anyways, $55. That's where the buck is for me, and I think it's $60. I could see it. You know what I mean? Base Hornet, same boat, really.
Yeah, if we're gonna be able to like slap a ball, be able to slap a turret on the Hornet, and turn it into a Super Hornet, then it has, to me, it has a little bit more value. It's, it's definitely a little bit more durable than the Buccaneer.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the firepower really comes from the turret, for the Hornets, but yeah, I'd say it's in I'd say it's in that same price range.
Base Hornet 60, one with the turret 70, 75.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Freelancer to me is the ultimate $50 ship.
Oh, all day long. Like we said before, and some of the first ships I bought in the game were the Freelancer variants, and but the base Freelancer, it's pretty decent it's definitely a decent little ship, but
66 SCU, a great little ship. It should be $50.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the next step up from, as a cargo hauler up from the Aurora. So
Yeah, or like I would say, some people would argue that the Freelancer and the Cutlass Black are in the same. To me, I don't know, Cutlass.
well, yeah, Cutlass Black. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it. Yeah, that's a good matchup between
Yep.
the Freelancer and the Cutlass.
So your Gladiuses, I'm down there in that once again that $50-$55 range. That's where I'm at with these Gladiuses.
The Gladius?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. For me, I think it's probably, it's up there. Maybe I'd say the Gladius is probably 75. I'd say it's a 70, 75.
Oh yeah, so you've got the Gladius in a little, which is totally fine. You know what I mean? Hold it in a little higher esteem. So for you then, the Pirate Gladius, for instance, its original War Bond price of 90 or whatever.
Well, basically what you're getting is a skin,
or the 80, 90. It's not too far off of what the standard Gladius.
Yeah, at $20 cheaper. Yeah, and full disclosure, I bought the Gladius too. So
you bought it when?
Years ago.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, Gladius is a great ship. It's definitely. They talk about the Gold Pass as well. It flies great. You know what I mean? Things work on it.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing wrong with it. Absolutely. And now we come to the more quintessential ship. The Cutlass Black is the quintessential, in my mind, the quintessential Star Citizen ship. I think that is your really $60 ship all day long.
Yeah.
Can I make this argument? Entire games are $60. A brand new game that AAA title is around. Yes, they can have like these, you get a lot of these extras, and it can be $70 or $90 for a brand new game. But most of your brand new games are around $60. So to me, the Cutlass Black is it's a great ship. $100. When I bought, I think I think I bought it for $100. I think it's I backed the game in 2014 for $100, but I considered it an investment then. You know, like I'm investing in the game. That's why I'm okay with it being $100 bill.
Right.
You know, but it really it's a ship that should be $50 all day long.
Oh,
$60.
yeah, $60.
That's what I meant. $60 all day long.
So we think the freelancer is a $50, and you think the
Cutlass
is a $60.
I mean, within five or 10, I think the Cutlass Black is a cooler ship than the Freelancer myself. But the Freelancer does haul a little more, but I think that the Cutlass is a little more combat capable.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's any more durable because
Now, does the Freelancer allow the XL1 drive? Let's look.
no.
What size quantum drive? A medium, maybe. What size is it on the? What size is it on the? On the Cutlass Black? Let me look that real quick.
Let's see.
Also a medium.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I think the argument around the same price. You know, to me the Cutlass Black is just a little bit cooler ship than the Freelancer, but I don't know that cool. I mean, cool's worth $5 maybe in that situation.
Yeah.
Freelancer 55 and the Cutlass Black 60.
Yeah. I mean, that seems about right.
Yep.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, the Hawk she's sitting at $100 right now.
No.
The Hawk's a cool looking ship, and I don't mind the Hawk. It's got 2 size 1s, 4 size 2s. So and interesting in that regard. I could see the Hawk being 65.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a $50 ship.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. The M50 probably This is probably. What do you think about the M50? I think the M50 is a cool ship, but this is another one. It's a $45 ship.
Yeah, it's kind of been that same racing.
Yep.
Thing. It's a tiny ship.
It is. It's in that same. It's kind of along the same lines as the Razor.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, if it was, $45 right now, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah. Now the M50, it does have the where 2 people can sit next to each other, right?
No.
Oh, which one was I thinking of then?
You have the it's the other Origin ship. It's the X95.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so yeah.
85X.
The 85X, yeah.
And which is a cool ship.
Yep, and that's a $50 ship.
Yeah, and
isn't that interesting now that I'm looking at that?
Yeah, but I think it's only like 500,000 in game though. It's really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's supposed to be the snub for the 890. It's little go around ship, and it does have a quantum drive.
The 85X has a quantum drive?
Yeah, it's got a quite a
You could put an Atlas drive on an 85X.
Yeah.
Wow. I might be picking one of those up in game. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I buy it every time. Although it did have a weird bug there for a little while. Every time I spawned it at Area 18, it would spawn upside down, suspended above the pad inside the hangar. it was got a little weird there. The last part of 317 or 317 1, I think, is when it started acting wonky.
You know what's funny is we're getting into the first variant of the Reliant Mako. It's like the most expensive one, and to me, I mean, I love the idea of the news van, but it's like the least, like, I mean, the other Reliants, they see, to me, would probably be have a little more in-game use right now. I think all the Reliants, though, where would you put?
Well, it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like it's another one of those Star Wars.
The old B-Wing.
The A-Wing.
Oh, is that what it was? The A-Wing?
Yeah. And, I mean, it's cool. I like that it changes its flight. It changes the way, it goes from that horizontal to vertical. It's really cool. I think, if you've ever like messed around with it and, it's something, it doesn't work right. Something's not right about it. A lot of people don't like that shit. Now for the Reliant, it's going to be kind of cool to see where they're going with the new newscasting gameplay. That's something they talked about for a long time. So, that is, they're most definitely keen on the idea, but I really like to see what that's all about. Like, film stuff in game with this. It's like, what capabilities are they going to give you in game that you, don't already have with the camera?
And some extra gameplay thoughts about that. I would love it if you could set up kind of remote cameras and then use that, because in the back of the Reliant Mako there's like a 10 or 12 pack of video cameras. What a cool thing to be able to set up like these remote cameras and then maybe uplink into them and kind of monitor an area. Something like that.
It'd be neat for a lot of these races
and that type of thing too. Yeah, the races. Like, yeah, exactly. What if you could put like remote cameras up on the racetracks or whatever, and then maybe have a broadcast, and maybe people could actually the broadcast would have a GUID or something, or some kind of a channel GUID, and then people could pick up the broadcast and watch it like in game. That'd be fun. I love it.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a lot of these monitors on the ship. Wouldn't it be wild to be able to flip through channels and find a race that's actually going on? It's like, oh, what's this race?
No, that would be fantastic. And I've definitely always thought about, like, it'd be cool if to have your own in-game music like that as well, like your in-game music stations and stuff, where, like maybe there's like a
kind of like how Cyberpunk or GTA or a lot of those games back in the day, those racing games used to have where you like what was the one big game that I used to play? It was a racing game, but you could definitely change the channels and stuff, and get a different channel on it.
Yeah, moving on here for sure. So, but let's talk about the Reliance real quick though. Where do you put the Reliance in general to me are $55 ships.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a neat concept. I don't know if a lot of these, because you have, a few of the variants that can haul stuff, and I think one of them is a fighter, but definitely a $50 ship.
Yeah, I mean the Mako's $95. It's just too much. You know what I mean? And of course you get down to the Core A and it's 65 or that type of thing, and it's a little better. But the Tana being 75 and the Sun being 85. But I honestly think that those are fairly expensive for what they are. So moving on down, you got the base Gladius at $80.90. I think we talked about that a little bit. That's not necessarily terribly egregious. So maybe $20 too high. The Hull A, original price is 60. Man, when you think about the Hull B being, where the Hull A hauls 64 SCU and the Hull B hauls 384 SCU, and there's a $30 difference.
Yeah,
it's a weird.
And dude, and that's another one of those where, to me,
scratcher.
Yeah, to me, the whole A was a disappointment all day long.
Yep.
And at $90, you're like, what the A?
Well, and it is a ship that's supposed to be able to come down, and you're supposed to be able to bring it down in Atmo or whatever. But this kind of does the same thing to me as the raft. It just
I'd rather but if you're hauling, I'd rather do it in a freelancer or a Cuddy Black than a whole A.
You're definitely hauling the exact same. I mean, actually, I think even 2 more SCU in a freelancer. I think it's 66 SCU in a Hull A64. So, yeah, I agree 100%. The Hull A, and we may find out once again that the external cargo is so much faster, and if that's the case, okay.
Well, you're going to think that external grid is just going to be, this big magnetic style snap to where you take your tractor beam gun and you just like sling things up there and it just sticks.
Yeah.
So, it definitely may be a lot faster than trying to load things inside of in the cargo hold of a ramp style ship, like the Freelance or even something bigger like the Taurus or something where you actually have to stack them, lay them out and stack them and things like that. So being able to just sling cargo boxes up onto that grid may be a quicker way to go. We'll have to see.
Yep. Avenger Warlock for 85. I think the Warlock does have the ability to. Is that thing can quantum dampen, right? Yeah. So 85. I mean, I would like it better at 75, but the fact that it could quantum dampen, it's a very cheap quantum dampener.
It's not too far off the thing, and the Avenger, man, that's definitely the starter ship level. So
yep.
For the Warlock variant, I'd say $60.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with that. The Herald at 85. I guess I'm surprised to see the Herald at 85. I didn't realize. I never really priced a Herald in real world dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that it's we don't know what data haulings or data running or those types of things are going to be like. The Herald seems like a very single purpose ship. I think it's I could see that more around $60.
I mean, basically it's like strapping an engine to a ship or strapping a chair to an engine.
Strapping an engine to a server,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah, you're basically flying a server.
Yeah.
For what it does, we'll just have to see how that plays out. It is very niche, $85 for something so niche. At least the Merc has a lot of versatility. The Herald does.
Yes, no, I agree with that. We talked about the Reliance series a little bit on already. The Nomad at $80.
Dude, that's a $50 ship.
Yeah. The one cool thing about the Nomad is it can haul an ROC, but I think that's another quintessential $50 ship. That's exactly where that should be. I think now maybe they sold a ton of them at 80. And it is a neat ship. Don't get me wrong. I like the Nomad. I actually really like the Nomad. I think it's a cool ROC hauler. It used to be kind of sketchy back there hauling the ROC. It used to be, ramps used to be really fidgety, but you can park the ROC right on the back of that thing like a dream now.
Now, one thing I do find a little weird is that it doesn't have landing gear.
Yeah, it's got the levitation system.
Yeah,
I could
I
take or
think
leave
I
that.
would have. I think I'd have liked it better, at least if you could land on that bottom rail. Kind of like um, the skids on a helicopter.
Yep.
Uh, for me, it just I don't know about that. I like the idea that like when you turn it on, it hovers,
Yep.
but I don't like that it just once you turn it off, it still hovers.
Well, I don't.
That's
I don't
nitpicky.
necessarily disagree with that, and I think it would be cool to be able to toggle that. One way. Or
Yeah,
another.
I mean, it's just kind of a weird nitpicky thing for me, but.
The Arrow at $75. Where you at with that, Zal?
That is probably another one of those ships that are kind of more in line for what it is. It probably needs to be a little bit cheaper, with the Gladius. If I was saying the Gladius needs to be in that $60 price range. I mean, I know it, and what's funny is both of these ships are meta right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think $75 is a terrible price. I definitely feel like, it's as capable as the Gladius. So I definitely feel like it should be in that $60 price range.
I don't disagree with that at all. 325A at 70.
And that's definitely not a, getting back to what we're saying. I don't think it's a terrible price either.
No, I think that's in the wheelhouse.
And it's close. And it's definitely close. I think, I think we said the 335. What did we say that was about $60?
The 350.
The 350.
Yeah, it was much more expensive.
Yeah.
The 350R is 125.
And I think we said that it should be more in that $60 price range.
No, I don't disagree.
And so 325, maybe $55. I mean, look, $70, a fairly decent price for that ship. It's still, it's still got that luxury styling that, from an Origin ship. So,
and it's the fighter variant of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
more of a combat capable variant.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool ship. Maybe 55 for that ship.
I don't disagree. The 135C, I sure love it a lot more at $50. Its original Warbond concept. Than I do at 65.
Yeah, I think
it's a $50 ship.
Well, but I think the 315P needs to be, is definitely a lot more ship than the 135C.
Yep. Oh, I agree with that. They're both currently sitting at 65, and the Mustang Delta's at 65. The one, and so the 315P to me is a gem at $65. I mean, could it be 55 or 60? Sure. I don't, the 315P is going to have the, pretty good sized tractor beam on it at some point. And maybe I pour in a little more hopium into that cup or whatever. But, and I love I love the 135C. I think, the 135C, the air system, the endless hydrogen system, and the 100 series of the Origin ships, I adore. The 315P, I adore. I don't know that the 135C and the 315P are in the same class.
No, I think that 100 series from Origin needs to be in that, different variant, within the $40 price range, because I believe it should be probably in the high 40s, and that maybe 45, maybe 49.99 or something like
yeah,
that.
No.
I mean, we're kind of getting into that territory where these ships are actually probably pretty close to where we'd price it.
Yeah. And I had bought the 315P before. I did melt it, but I'm sure I will buy the 315. I mean, the 315P I will have no problem buying at $65. I very well could buy that. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that in 3 hours I could earn that with the prospector in game, I'd buy it all the time. I mean, honestly, I'd have bought it
Yeah.
already if it wasn't like just 3 hours of work in the game. Mustang Delta at 65. It's interesting that variant's 65.
Yeah, it's just, basically got, it's not even missiles, it's a rocket pod, that comes on it.
Yep.
And it makes it unique. I think it's about the only ship that comes with a rocket pod that's actually removable and you can put it on other ships. So it's unique in that, that capacity.
I mean, I could see it being 55 instead of 50, I guess.
It's not it's not a $65 ship. But it's a cool ship. It's in that Mustang. It's one of those things. A lot of people, don't really talk about the Mustang much, but I love I love those Mustangs.
I think they're cool.
They are. I'll pull one. I'll pull it out, just for the giggles every once in a while, just to fly between, different places.
And a lot of people sleep on the Mustang Beta, but the fact that that's got a bat in it. I mean, I like the Mustang Beta. It's just
a lot of people didn't know when the Mustangs first came into the game that they didn't have landing gear. They had skids, like chopper like you landed on the wings, like you did, like you had the skids on a chopper. And the way you entered the ship was through a hatch in the right underneath the ship, under the hull.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you popped it open, you went up that hatch, and that's how you got into it. And it kind of had a little bit of an interior, and then you went to the seat. The seat was backward facing, and then you sat on it, and it flipped forward or spun around forward. And then they changed a lot of that back in the day. So it didn't. The original Mustangs wasn't like the way you see today, boys and girls. They didn't have the flip up wings and they didn't have the landing gear. They were a lot different. So you did have on all the different variants, you did have a little bit of that interior on the Mustangs. So,
well, we're getting down to the last handful here. 300i at $60. What do you think about that?
It's at its concept price for 55, that's more in line.
Yep,
with,
I agree.
What we think of it. I mean, I think we've kind of spoken about the Avengers. I think they're all, for us, probably in that, $45, $50 price range. I think the original Avenger Titan, I think it was at $50. So
yeah, and it's 55 now, and it's still okay. Obviously the Stalker's got, I think, like that, you can stick a prisoner in there. It's kind of like a cut down version of the Blue, type of thing. Mustang Gamma, yeah, the Titan at 55. Look, we recommend the Avenger Titan at $55.
That's a good buy.
Yep.
Especially for a starter ship.
It is. It's got a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of SCU. You can get a bike in it. It's got a size 4. It's a decent ship. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Penguin. It's a good ship. $55 is okay.
Mm-hmm.
A Mustang Gamma. I think we've talked about the Mustangs a little bit. The 100i at $50. I'm okay with the 100i at $50. The 85X.
It was better at 45.
Oh, I think I agree with that. It was definitely better at 45. But it does have the air system, which I adore. And honestly, the 100i, I like that. I like the 100 series as kind of like your little kind of like your Volvo, your daily Volvo driver type thing, It's a good little box delivery ship, like those entry level box deliveries.
And it has a bed in it as well.
Yeah, it does. There is a bed in it. So yeah, 85X at $50.
That's I think that's a little pricey. I think it's because it's kind of attached to the 890.
Yep. I'm more of that $35, $40 range for that.
I was thinking, I mean, it's a cool little ship. It looks really cool. It's if anybody knows what, if anybody owned Hot Wheels back in the day, the cool thing about it is that it has, its landing gear looks like or Hot Wheels wheels.
Yeah.
Pulled off the Hot Wheels. So it's a cool little ship. We talked about it before. For $500,000 in game, man. It's good. It's good, man. It's something to own all day long. It's a tandem seater. It's probably one of the only ships, small ships in the game that you can actually fly two people around, and it's really cool. But at $35, that's exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. You're starting to get into the Aurora range of $45 for the CL.
Yeah.
I mean, 40, it's okay. Now the C8.
But it's kind of like one of those things with the Aurora. I mean, there's like the different variants of the Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
$45, I think that's a little high, especially when you look at the Pisces. I would take a Pisces over an Aurora.
Oh, I would too. I mean, especially the Pisces originally at $40, now still $45. Yes, the C8X for $45. That's a ship I don't have a problem recommending at $45.
Yeah, is it worth that? I mean, maybe 40, because
Yeah.
if we're looking at some of these things, it's like, I don't know, maybe a $40 ship,
Yeah.
sort of like the Aurora. I don't,
Yeah.
even
if it was 35, it'd make more sense, to me too.
yeah. I mean, I think these are all comparable.
Yeah.
I think you can't go wrong at any of these at this price. It's like a lot of these, with the MVP, the MPUV.
Yep.
It's a little personal hauler ship.
How many people fit in the
neat
back of that MPUV?
Yeah, man. It's a cool little thing.
Do you know how many people fit? I haven't. I know. How many people does it fit back there?
Four.
Oh, is it 4? I
think it's 4. I think it's 2 on each side, right? So it's like 2. Yeah, I think 4. Is that how? I think that is what it is. I don't remember. I have to look that
exactly. Up. Yeah. But $35. I mean, you're not out a whole lot for it. That's the personnel one. It's 40. The cargo is 35, I guess. Yeah. And the Mustang Beta. I think we talked about that. I don't. $40. I mean, that's the one that's got the bed in it. I'm good with it. P72 Archimedes Emerald. I like the Archimedes a lot. $40. I don't have a problem with it being a $40.
Oh, check this out. It has a module. It has a 8-passenger module.
It seemed like I didn't want to say it because I couldn't remember, but it seems like we used the MPVU personnel one time for to try to take it out of the 890 jump as kind of a testing it out as kind of a drop ship type thing.
And I was trying to remember, because I was trying to remember, and the way I was remembering it, because I was remembering that, because that it's like a pod, right? That the thing that it goes underneath the ship there, and I was sitting there thinking, I go, is it 2, 2, and 2, or I guess it's 4 and 4. So
I mean, the fact that you can haul 8 people in that thing's kind of interesting. So
actually, yeah. For sure.
It makes you wonder, how they have the Starliner, right? The Crusader Starliner. Are you going to be able to do like a tiny version of that? Like between like pick up like 8 people at like, Deacons or something and take them up to, take them over to Crusader or something? That is an interesting thing. I mean, you do wonder, is that MPVU personnel, are you going to be able to, haul,
instead of like the Crusader, it'll be more like a taxi cab instead of like a bus.
Yeah, exactly. It does make you wonder.
Yeah.
So we're starting to get down there. Like the Archimedes at 35. I know the Emerald's got a special skin. It's $5 more. The Aurora LX 35. I'm okay with that. The MPVU Cargo 35. I'm okay with that.
Like I said, I've bought the Merlins and the Archimedes. I own both of
Sure.
those. Um, yeah, all these things are a really good price. I am kind of sad I missed out on getting that Mustang Alpha. That was that AMD event. I would have really liked to have gotten that one.
Oh, that was the one, huh?
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's red and it's
I get it. And then Mustang Alpha Vindicator. I don't even. That was an event one too. Oh, was that the? Maybe that was the. Interesting. The old Vindicator, $30. Yeah. Then if you got the P52 Merlin at $25. I don't have a problem with that. And the Aurora ES at $20.
$20, man. Can't go wrong.
You really can't. I mean, honestly, it's got a little bit of wiggle room to throw a box in there. And $20. I mean, that's not too bad. You can't. I mean, for a standalone. One of the things I like about the Auroras is it's a really good. They're a really good skiff. If you're just if you need a quick shuttle to get you down from, say, one of the orbital stations like Everest to, you want to take Everest Harbor down to Lorville or one of those types of things. Nothing. I think in Aurora, yes, it pulls in like 20 seconds. If you had to claim it.
Yeah, that's that's what makes things like the Mustang or that 85X very appealing. Yeah, they pull in like 30 seconds, under 30 seconds. So that makes them real appealing when you have to haul butt somewhere to go pick up your ship or wherever you.
Maybe you're going to try to pick up your body.
Yeah, you didn't put your respawn where you needed it, and you're just like, dang it! And you're, trying to get back there as fast as you can. It makes those things appealing.
Yeah, and especially if you have an Atlas drive or something. If you do have, don't spend a lot of money on upgrading that thing, but get yourself a little faster, drive, and just you can get yourself back now. I guess the one thing I do want to say, we haven't talked about a ton of ground vehicles. And ground vehicles you can just earn fairly quickly, in game. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that, and I mean this in the most respectful sense. I'm not sure any of the ground vehicles are worth their price.
No, because it's got that weird ground vehicle premium on them. They definitely are not worth what they're selling for, like the tanks and the Centurions and anything on that Atlas base. And shoot, man, I don't know, those things can get pricey.
I mean, the PTV for $15, maybe. The clown car.
Yeah.
I mean,
something like that.
But I'm okay. Really, for $15, if you wanted to buy the PTV, I'm okay with it.
But things like the Cyclones and stuff like that, no way. I mean, they're only 25,000 UEE in game.
Look, and even the Nova tank, $120. No. I mean,
yeah, you can buy those in game, all day long, no sweat.
Yep.
Any of the ground vehicles, no
yes.
biggie.
So, anyways, yeah, that's us. I mean, I think you'll find. I mean, yes, 100%, absolutely. We've said a lot. We love Star Citizen. It's great. The real question is really, like we posed it many times, is what if they'd have just, would they have made more money, or could they have made more? I mean, it's hard to argue with how much they've made, but if they took more of of more of a bargain, a price, point to these things, how much more sales would they make on a regular basis? And I think it would be quite a bit more.
And for you guys playing along, did you guys, check off which ones you would have spent a little bit of money on, and tally it up and see how much more money you would have spent on this game, if things were in that price range. Did you keep the tally rolling on how much we would have spent?
So Zel, I have you about $2,400, and we really didn't. Obviously when they start getting down to the 200 or less, maybe we should have did, would you buy this at 40 or would you buy this at 50? Because the answer would have been yes, a lot more, right? I mean, at $50, would you have bought this ship? I think there would have been a lot of yeses in there. At $45, would you have bought this ship? And I'm not much, I'm like $2,200, you know what I mean? So, and that's when, us going through and just saying, hey, would you have bought this at $100? Would you have bought this at $100? I mean, I can guarantee to you that between Zel and I, it's what I came up with was around $5,000, and to be honest with you, I don't think we're not even 20% of that between the two of us.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm.
And quite honestly, you have been, certainly a little more disciplined than I have, on that front. But yeah, I'm
probably in that, a little bit more than a quarter of what that, that 2,200 or whatever. It's probably a little bit more than a quarter of what that. So. Probably spent about $500 or $600 on the game.
Yep, and so I'm a little deeper in than that. We'll leave it at that. Not terrible, but not definitely a little deeper in than $500 or $600.
Yeah. So plus I've probably not tallying up a crap load of paints and other things that I have bought,
Truly.
like a bunch of armors and actually I bought, probably, 3 or 4 copies of the game for friends and things. So, and like I said, we pay the subscription every month. So
it's true.
So we're probably a little bit deeper than we think, and like I said, man, this isn't about, it was just a little, something that we thought about if it had been a little bit cheaper, because, with other games, we've spent a little bit of money. We brought up World of Tanks because we're trying to draw draw a little bit of comparison between, because it's similar because we're buying in-game vehicles. So in that sense, it's kind of similar in that way. And, like I said, we've, spent quite a little bit of money in tanks. So, if it was one of those things where it's like about every week or every other week, we're buying a ship, we probably would have spent a lot more if the prices would have been a little bit cheaper. It's, if you're married out there,
yeah,
certain purchases need to be justified. So.
There is no question about that. No question about that at all. So we ran a little long tonight, but we had a list of ships to get through. And if you happen to be hanging on this long, thank you so much for listening, for sure. Absolutely had a great time tonight. CitizenCon's coming. It's about 9 days from now. So, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think we are probably going to take a look at what they're going to be talking about at CitizenCon and maybe chatting up that a little bit, kind of maybe like before it happens. Taking a look at some of the panel ideas and some of that stuff, and kind of really kind of getting geared up for that.
I'm interested to see what they say.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. So, hey, without further ado, Zel, take it away, and everybody, thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Guys, we love it every week. You guys come along for the ride. I know the past couple of weeks we've been a little long-winded. It's, we're trying to get through going through these shifts and just kind of getting an idea. Like I said, it's just a little exercise, something that, if we're just kind of BSing around at the bar, it's like, well, how much more money would you have spent? And quite a little bit more, really. So, if we have a lot of people that kind of think in those terms, it's like if you've been playing along with us and kind of calculated what would you have thought, would you have spent more money than you already have, and this is by no means do we say that there's no right or wrong answer here. This is just kind of a what if situation, kind of the things that sometimes that we kind of bat around and think about. And we hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, man, give us that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let us know, man, down in the comments below, how much you guys, what your tally was, And we looking forward to seeing you next week on the Rock Runners Report.